So Guan Yin Bodhisattva decided to come here to our world, was born here, and we all know how tough it is, how much of an ordeal it is to go through birth. So the Bodhisattvas, this is their spirit. They're willing to endure a lot of suffering in order to help us out. Not just help us out, in what way? In the way that's by example. Buddhist teaching is always by example. We don't talk about it unless we're doing it ourselves. Okay, it's not theory at all. But this is a great compassion Bodhisattva who comes to our world to remind us to the importance of compassion. How do you increase your compassion? That's her role here. Her Dharma is to increase our compassion. How can you increase your compassion? She taught us many, many Dharma doors, such as the Great Compassion mantra. You recite it, you will increase your compassion. You recite her name, you also increase your compassion. Most of the names you recite, that we recite, will increase your compassion. What's another way for you to increase your compassion? Compassion is your being able to see suffering in others. If you can simply see that others are suffering, look at your own household, look at work, look at your friends. Can you see the suffering? If you can see suffering, then naturally your compassion will grow bigger and bigger. How they're suffering? Buddha is very wise. It's very fundamental. He talked about all sorts of sufferings, but today we don't have a lot of time, so I talk about 3 kinds of sufferings. If you look at people's suffering, it's very easy to see because the Buddha taught about the various types of sufferings, especially the 3 kinds of sufferings. What are the 3 kinds of sufferings? I want you to learn about this and then look how people are suffering at work. I remind you, you have to use this information, this knowledge, to look around you, to see the kind of suffering that is so prevalent everywhere. Your own family, your own work, your own people that you love, your friends, acquaintances. The first one that comes to mind is suffering on top of suffering. Ku ku. Ku ku is Chinese. Ku is suffering. Ku ku, suffering. It's like they are stuttering. No, actually, the Chinese are very subtle. It's suffering on top of suffering. It's not within suffering. It's within suffering is American. What the Chinese means by that, and you can't blame the translation from suffering within suffering, actually suffering on top of suffering. In terms of 3 sufferings, the Buddha talked about is that if you talk about sufferings, you think about suffering, the 3 types of sufferings cover all the sufferings we experience. So first of all, suffering on top of suffering, meaning that what? It means that you're suffering already and another suffering is added on top of it. Okay? For example, you just lost your job and came home and told your wife, hey honey, I just lost my job. And guess what? She says, oh, I'm so sorry for you. Guess what? I want a separation. Okay? That's really suffering on top of suffering. That really, really hurts. Okay? Second suffering is suffering of decay. Huai ku, or the destruction suffering. What does it mean? Huai ku, it means that the suffering of decay means that you are enjoying your pleasures, enjoying your blessings, and all of a sudden they come to an end. Things change. And the suffering there is very, very difficult to bear. Okay, so the first one is very difficult to bear already in your body, in your mind. Think about it. You work so hard to support her, guys, and then things didn't go well at work, and she says, I want better. So hang on to your jobs, guys. This is the wrong time to change jobs. And number 2, suffering of decay, meaning that you, especially for people who can afford it, they're having a good time, they're enjoying themselves, they have lots of pleasures, and then they suddenly come to a stop. Nature of a suffering and decay is that you have it good for yourself and you lose it. And that is so unbearable. Isn't that interesting? Suffering on top of suffering is that you suffer and more suffering is added on top of you. Okay? So the nature of that suffering is that, in summary, especially for you depressed people, is what? It's too much. Agree? It's just way too much. You can't take this. Okay? Number two, what is the nature of this kind of suffering of decay that makes it so unbearable? We become attached to pleasure. We become attached to enjoyment. It's a warning call for you. The pleasure you're experiencing right now, okay, is a seed for you to lose it, to suffer later. Think about death. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how famous you are. When you die, you have to lose it all. You're going to lose it all. So when you're rich and you're having fun, you're having all the good things in life and you get what you want, okay? But if you lose it, that's when the attachment built in to your attachment to pleasures is so unbearable to you. And the number three, singku, is the suffering of change, of the process. Okay, what does it mean? It means that the first two refer to the suffering that we, ordinary people, are subject to. We are in our lives, we have suffering on top of suffering, and suffering of decay. No one is spared from that. Is it clear? Especially when you get older, you have this suffering of decay here, which is really a silent form of suffering. The body is decaying, it's breaking down, and your children don't want to hear you complain because you feel like complaining every day, but they get tired of hearing it because it gets worse to our bodies every day, especially when you get older. So that's part of the attachment of the body we talked about, okay? We're so attached to our body that when the body decays, it's so much suffering for us. And I speak from experience. And the third type of suffering, unlike the first two, is a suffering that most of you are not aware of. The suffering of change. This is what the sages can see in us, but we cannot see. They can experience it, we cannot experience it. What is it? This suffering of change, suffering of the fact that our mind is constantly burdened by delusion, and therefore, how does it react to delusions? It keeps on thinking incessantly. You don't think suffering, do you? But as you drive, when you're driving, you go and you walk, you go to the supermarket, and your mind is constantly thinking and plotting, discriminating, calculating. Yes? At least it happens to me. And that's a form of constant suffering that's 24 hours that you are not even aware of. The first two suffering is that the intensity brings your attention to it. Whereas this third type of suffering, the suffering of change here, okay, is constant and so subtle inside of you. Let me explain to you. It means that it's draining your life energy away every single second. When you think, your energy, life energy, decreases. That's why it's a very difficult a process that's very difficult to reverse. We age, and the older we get, the more we think, the more worries we have. So the worries there, the obsessiveness, the obsession in your heart right there is constantly draining you day and night. And the sages see that, and they said, this is why I'm cultivating and I have the skill to stop that suffering. And you all are able to do that through the spiritual cultivation. All that is based upon the thoughts that are continually arising in your mind. Only sages are able to stop that suffering. That's why they can see it as a suffering in all of us, ordinary people. Is that clear? When you get to the sage's level, then you say, I'm free from this kind of suffering. Emituofo, Emituofo.
Emituofo, 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 Emituofo.